Welcome back to the channel. My name is Patel, and in this video, I'm so excited to bring out this guide that is filled with advice and personal experiences that will help you get into PA school in 2024. The reason why I'm so excited is because I've recruited 10 PA students from my school to speak about particular topics that pre-PAs are concerned about. And those topics will be found in the description, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Before we get started with the first section of this video, I would like to thank the following people who have made this podcast guide possible: Alex, Josh, Arsheen, Leighton, Micah, Stephen, Paige, Amanda Jane, Kawsar, and Phi Phi. So I thank all of them to coming forward and putting themselves out there and sharing their personal experiences. I believe the more we talk about this, the more we share our personal experiences, our stories, the better it is for the next generation of pre-PAs and people who actually want to pursue the PA profession. So without further ado, let's get started.
Hi, my name is Alex, and I'm a PA student at South University. And so I'm going to talk a bit about why I chose PA over being a physician. So actually, I went into undergrad as pre-med, like with full intentions of becoming a physician. I wanted to be a pediatrician. And I was in pre-med definitely for my first full year. And then during my second year, I switched to pre-PA. Actually, I switched to environmental and then I switched to PA because you go through so many changes in undergrad. But I'm really glad that I chose PA. Now that I'm in school, I think it was the right decision to make. And the reason why I chose that, so my uncle is actually a physician and my cousin is a PA. So I had two people very close to me that I was able to talk through my ideas with and kind of figure out what I wanted to do. Honestly, I realized that I did not want to spend my whole life in one specialty, which is what a physician does. I get bored very easily and I get antsy. And so I think I crave change. And so therefore, PA just seemed like a no-brainer to me. Also with PA, you really have the opportunity to see and speak with a lot of people, while with physicians, you don't really have that opportunity to do it that often. You see many cases, but speaking to the actual person is more with PA. And I love to speak, so that also just seemed, again, like a no-brainer for me. Let's see. I don't know, it was just nice. I talked to my uncle who's a physician, like I said, and he was just like, just be a PA. And then I went to go and shadow a PA, and it was just really interesting seeing how she would interact with patients compared to like my physicians growing up. It seemed like I would go into the office, not really get a straight answer on anything, and then be kind of sent away. But while with her, she was like literally drawing out diagrams, talking about what's happening with your liver when this is happening, or talking about like the ins and outs of the medications that she was prescribing. And that's when I realized this is who I want to be. Like, this is it. So I switched to PA. Thank you.
My name is Paige. I'm a first-year PA student at South. I have a strong opinion on gap years. I highly suggest gap years. I took more than a gap year. I took 3.5 years, and I was super productive in those 3.5 years. The first 2.5, I worked as a medical assistant, and I was front desk in a vein and vascular clinic right under a PA. And that was amazing because I got the admin side of things as well as the patient facing. So I really feel like I got a very well-rounded understanding of the healthcare system that I just did not get through taking in-person classes in undergrad. And it was also awesome because I worked directly under that PA. So I was at her side and truly fell in love with the career and saw what she got to do and her lifestyle, and it was just so fun. And then the last year before PA school, I transitioned to working in orthopedics on a team, and that was such a different experience, but I would not take that year back. I got to work on a team with a scribe, I was the MA, and then I worked with an athletic trainer, a PA, and an MD, so it was a much larger team. And the role of a PA was just completely different than my past experience. So I just highly recommend it. I learned so many skills, and all that time, I just had more experience with difficult patients and those hard days are really, really hard, and you have to just be there for the patient at the end of the day. And in those hard moments when it was frustrating or scary or sad, I still knew that this is what I wanted to do. And I had no exposure to that learning physiology in undergrad. So there's so much value in taking a gap year. And then on top of that, I just feel like maturity wise, you are paying your own bills, you're working full time, and you're working in a professional setting. I just think there's so much value there.
My name's Amanda. I'm a PA student, and I'm going to be talking about how to just stand out not only on your application, but also with interviews. So the first thing I want to talk about is in regard to your application. First thing is diversifying your patient care experience. I think that this is, if it's possible, try to do this for your application. Obviously, that's not always feasible for everybody. I only worked at one job before PA school, so I would say if you can diversify it, absolutely try to do that. But if not, then make sure the job that you are working is one that's giving you really meaningful experience. You're able to actually walk away from it with skills and things to talk about in your interview and apply to your actual learning as a PA. Because if it's not that great, then it's really hard to talk about when you're asked about it in your interview. It's also really hard to write about, and that's really good to use in like your personal statement and things like that. So definitely biggest thing, patient care experience. Do what you can with that, diversify it, or just try to make sure it's really, really good. Next thing that I think could be something that's really cool that not everybody has is maybe like a medical study abroad or even like a mission trip. If that is feasible, that's just kind of an idea, because obviously things like that are expensive and sometimes there's just not time to do things like that. So if you are given the opportunity, absolutely jump on it. Do what you can to do something like that. Those are really cool to talk about. I did a medical study abroad in undergrad, and I feel like it was something that I really loved to talk about on my application. It was something that I was really passionate about, and I learned a lot from it and could apply it to, the differences in like U.S. healthcare and things like that. So I thought that was really neat. So maybe looking into something like that if possible. But again, these things are not an exhaustive list. It's also not the end all be all. You don't have to have these things, but they can definitely be something neat that you can talk about. And then another thing that I think is honestly really important is finding a way to be involved in your community. I know volunteering is something that is required for most schools, but it doesn't even have to be something like volunteering at a soup kitchen or volunteering like medical wise. You could literally volunteer as like a coach for a local kid football team, or maybe even volunteer to like assist with like a team. Something like that is really neat to talk about. Shows like teamwork. It shows how you work with others. So finding something in your own community that you're passionate about does not have to be medical. Honestly, I think it's really cool if it's not medical, because it also just shows a little bit about who you are as a person, and they want to see who you are as a person. And then again, kind of just segueing with that, doing volunteering just in general. If you are gonna do volunteering, do something you're passionate about. So make sure it's not just like something to check a box, because if it's checking a box, you're not going to be able to talk about it. You're not going to be passionate about it. And when you get to your interview, that's going to show through. So definitely make sure it's something you care about. Literally can be anything. Does not have to be medical. Do it if you can. Okay. And then in regard to the interview, I would say number one biggest thing is showing your personality. So obviously with this, you have to gauge your interviewer. Some interviews don't always give you the opportunity to do something like that. But based on your interviewer, if it really seems like, okay, I can kind of take this and talk more about myself and my interests, go for it, because they love that and they can tell when someone's being genuine, and it really, really shines through. So I know for me personally, I think talking about your interests outside of medicine is just awesome. They love that. It honestly can not only show a little bit of who you are, but you never know what your interviewer might have in common with you. Like literally, for example, I talked about running 2 half marathons during my gap year, and come to find out my interviewer was a runner, and we had all these things in common, and we just clicked, and it just made like such a difference, and it made me feel way more comfortable. So find things about yourself that you do that are unique to you, or that you love to talk about, because they want to hear about those. And then honestly, from that, I would say my biggest piece of advice just overall is you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have a million different things on your resume. Just have things that are good, that you care about, that you're passionate about, that are true to you, and that you can genuinely talk to your interview about and write really well on your application.
Hi everybody, my name is Phi Phi. I'm a South University PA student, and I'm going to be talking to you about how to stand out on your CASP application. So for me personally, I felt like what helped me stand out definitely was my prior patient care experience. I was a surgery tech in plastics, so I became the first assist alongside the surgeon in the OR, but it didn't start out that way. I was initially hired as a medical assistant. And, even though I found surgery to be really intimidating, it just made me feel more inquisitive. And so every surgery, every procedure, I shadowed, I asked questions, I asked a lot of questions to the surgeon, I asked a lot of questions to the surg tech. And after like a couple months went by and I felt like really confident and knowledgeable about the different types of procedures and all of the according steps, I asked the surgeon if I can assist. And yeah, the rest is history. That kind of helped embark like my brief time as a surg tech during my gap years. And so I think that was a good opportunity that helped me gain a lot of intensive direct patient care experience. And it was actually, I remember it was a topic that was brought up during one of my interviews, and it was a key point in transitioning the interview into more of a conversation, because my interviewer just happened to be from a surgical background as well. So I think that was really cool. As for a general piece of advice I would offer to prospective applicants, I think it'd be to really take advantage of that PCE portion of your CASP application, because it is largely unique to PA programs. We're actually one of the few graduate programs that require PCE for entry. So yeah, really take advantage of that. Utilize it as an opportunity to pursue like employment experiences that would help you grow outside of your comfort zone, push your boundaries, expand beyond your capabilities, because not only is it an optimal way to differentiate yourself from other applicants, but I think it can also help you cultivate the skills that you'll need to tackle PA school later on. Good luck! Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Kawsar Arsalan. I'm a physician assistant student here at South University in Savannah. I wanted to talk to everyone a little bit about how to help your application stand out from my perspective. I think authenticity is very important in the application cycle. I would recommend really thinking deep down into the reasons why you're applying in the first place, and if those reasons are driven by your background, your experiences, your upbringing and culture, I would really emphasize that, especially in your personal statement. And that's kind of exactly what I did. I utilized my experiences back home in a third world country where, access to healthcare was very limited, as well as experiences I had here as a first generation student, and how those experiences helped me pursue this path. And you can talk about how you can use your background and those experiences into bringing a different perspective in the profession, different changes and stuff. And that's exactly what I did. As an example, I volunteered as an English tutor to help students back home learn the language. And I think that really helped me bring a new perspective into school here. And I think that utilizing those types of experiences will really help you stand out.
My name is Paige. I'm a first-year PA student at South, and I got my undergraduate degree in integrative physiology at the University of Colorado. This degree helped me so much and has helped me so much in PA school thus far. I took all of the biology prerequisites. I took A&P 1 and 2 plus labs, and then my degree in physiology was really fun because I got to explore upper classes such as endocrinology, immunology, exercise physiology, and human reproduction. So those have really, really, really given me a solid foundation for learning at such a fast pace in PA school. But I'm so grateful that I chose that degree because they will go off of your prereqs. So make sure that you are solid in your prereqs. I did not do so great in Gen Chem 1 and 2. So post-grad, I did retake that course or both courses. And admissions committees actually commented in a very positive light that they saw that I did better in those courses and they really, really liked it. So if anything, retake courses that you maybe didn't do as well as you wanted to. It can never hurt. If anything, if you kind of leave it and you don't want to talk about it, that might hurt you. And then as for applying with incomplete prereqs, don't do it. It is a waste of money. You want to give yourself the best chances of getting into a PA program. You want to be a PA, so give yourself the chance. If you apply to a school and you are missing anything, if you don't write an essay or a prereq is expired or you didn't meet the minimum grade, they will not look at your application at all. So just don't do it. It's expensive and don't waste your money, and you want to give yourself the best shot.
Hello, my name is Steven. I'm a PA student, and I'm going to be talking about GPA today. GPA is one of those things that people kind of get scared of because they think that you have to get it right the first time or you won't end up in PA school. The good standing GPA would be about 3.5. Usually people apply with 3.8 and 3.9 and get in with that, but that's not to say that if you have a bad GPA, you won't be able to get into PA school. A lot of people compensate by having really good patient care experiences that they can talk and write about, or they do a post-bac program or a master's program to boost their science and overall GPA. For me personally, my GPA was around a 3.4. So a little bit on the lower end. So to compensate for that, I took a few extra classes. I stayed an extra semester after undergrad to take a few more classes, and that boosted my GPA a little bit. I also worked in nephrology, which kind of helped a little bit too, because not a lot of students do nephrology as an MA. So I think that kind of helped me stand out a little bit. But yeah, GPA is one of those things where it doesn't make or break your application. And as long as you show like an upward trend in your GPA, then I think you'll be fine.
Hello, my name is Micah. I'm here to talk about the difference between patient care hours and healthcare hours. So the main difference between it is that patient care hours, you actually have like a responsibility with the patient, while as in healthcare hours, you don't really have a responsibility. So this can be like, in healthcare hours, you can be like checking in the patient, checking out the patient, not doing anything necessary. And then in patient care hours, you have more of a responsibility, so you can get like the medication, perform different like, diagnostics like EKGs or different procedures on them. That's the main difference between them. So when I was applying to PA school, getting my PA application ready, when I would research schools, I would see that my healthcare experience, or my patient care experience, what I thought was patient care experience was not patient care experience. It was more on the healthcare experience side. So I was like checking patients and scheduling them appointments, and I thought that was patient care at the time, but it was not. And I think at that time it was important for me to do what's best for me and find a role that better fit the patient care that the PA schools all were looking for. So I transitioned to becoming an MA, where I had to take patients' histories, allocate their meds, and do different procedures on them. So I think that is important for PA school. Is having patient care hours is most important, but having healthcare hours is also important. You could talk about them both when writing your personal statement or when you get interviewed to your PA schools.
Everyone, my name is Arsheen, and today I'm going to be telling you guys a little bit about my patient care experiences. So getting patient care hours is a very large and vital part of your PA school application. So getting valuable experiences is just as important. So I was an EMT. After my first year of college, I got my EMT certification while I was in school and I worked as an EMT for about 2.5 years. So I did both transport as well as 911. While I was an EMT, I was also volunteering at a free clinic in Athens. And there I was the patient care coordinator. So I was responsible for triaging the patients, doing their workup, taking their vitals, just very basic things like that. So I got a couple more hours through that position. Then once the COVID vaccination came out, I worked as a COVID vaccinator for about 3 months. So that gave me a couple more hours. And then I continued working as an EMT until I graduated college. Once that was done, I moved back home and decided to find a job in a new specialty just to diversify my profile and to expose myself to a new field of healthcare and medicine. So I started working in orthopedics, and this was a really interesting opportunity because I was working as a medical assistant, but luckily I didn't need a certification, so they were able to just throw me in and teach me as I was going. So I was doing my regular MA duties, talking to patients, writing HPIs, prescribing medications, all that good stuff. But I was also managing our hyperbarics chamber. So this gave me a great opportunity to work with patients just one-on-one, have a lot of free time to give them advice and teach them about hyperbarics. Whereas while I was in clinic, I was working hand in hand with just PAs. So that taught me a lot about how PAs are able to function separately from a doctor. While working in orthopedics, I was also able to help out in spinal injection. So I was one of the main spinal injecting assistants. And this is where I was able to work one-on-one with just a doctor. So I learned a lot about how to use machinery like fluoroscopy. And I was learning how to sterilize patients and how to sterilely drop medications. And again, talk to patients one-on-one. So I know that I have a lot of experience. And I do want to preface by saying that you don't need a ton of experience to be able to get into PA school or to be successful in PA school, but I do think it's important to open yourself up to different opportunities, to seek out different opportunities, and if you need to get some sort of licensure or certification like I did for EMS, then it's definitely worth the investment. Thank you.
So hello there, my name is Joshua Murillo, and I'm just here today to talk to you first about letters of recommendation. So when you start applying and you're using the CASPA portal, it's going to give you the options to submit, I believe it's 5 letters of recommendations. And the way this works is just you're going to get the respective emails or just either business email or personal email of the individual that's going to write you up a letter of rec, and you're going to send those out to that said individual. My first initial tips when you're trying to get a letter of recommendation is definitely get as many PA letters of recommendations as you can. Those definitely are looked at more and they're weighed heavier than the other ones that you would get. And the chance that you can't get as many PAs letters of rec, it is still important just to have as many diverse and different point of views from those who have worked closely with you or can write and attest to how good of an individual you are, both personally and professionally. When you're submitting these letters, it's important to remember and understand that you want the individual that's going to write a letter of rec for you to be able to attest to your character and to basically tell admissions offices why you deserve to be a PA and why you're going to be why you are prone to become a good one. When selecting said individuals that are going to write your letter of recommendation, it's important to just provide them extra info about yourselves, that such as a resume, things you do, things that you're doing alongside just, let's say you're working in a clinic or in a hospital setting, other things you're doing to boost your applications, other things that you've done, such as medical mission trips, volunteering opportunities, other shadowing opportunities as well. Again, these individuals who are writing a letter of recommendation may only know you superficially in the sense of where the time you've worked with them, but give them more info so they can write a more meaningful and a more accurate letter that reflects who you are. So the individuals who read this in admissions can have a better picture of who you are, because before you get to that interview point, this is kind of your first line screening, that and like your overall application and your resume. So I took the PA CAP because some of the schools that I was applying to required it, and some of the other schools that I did apply to were highly recommending that we take it, that it would boost and further enhance our applications and kind of make us stick out. The reality is as the years goes on and PA school keeps evolving, we're transitioning more to using the PA CAT along with the GRE. The PA CAT, to kind of break it down, is a 240 question exam that takes about 4 hours to do. It tests you on 9 subjects, mainly on the classes and courses that you're taking for your prereqs. I think it is a very great way to gauge and give the universities you're applying to gauge your prior knowledge before entering PA school on the things that you learn and the things that you need to know that will be then later enhanced in your curriculum. It is a good, if you're capable of taking it, it is a good way to definitely strengthen your application, kind of make you stick out, because again, everyone does take the GRE and everyone does have to get their respective hours and patient care hours, healthcare hours, and just at least in my personal opinion, the more you have on the resume, the more you're gonna stick out, the more stronger you as an applicant are gonna be. And if you're capable of taking it, it doesn't hurt. Even if it isn't mandatory right now, anything recommended, anything that can help get you into the door is better.
Hi everyone, my name is Arsheen. I'm a PA student at South University Savannah, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about shadowing and getting shadowing experience. So to start off, I highly recommend shadowing during the summertime. You have your days free, hopefully you can get time off of work, and it gives you some time during the school year to find opportunities to shadow. So on the topic of how to find opportunities, what I did was whenever I had a doctor's appointment or I'm driving past a clinic or I'm at work and I'm at a clinic, I have my resume with me and I'm going to go try and hand it to them and ask if they can let students shadow. My PA advisor was amazing. She had a whole list of places where students can shadow, and so I had reached out to those places, cold called a bunch, cold emailed a bunch. So don't be afraid to do that. Keep your resume with you just in case. And so my experiences. First, I shadowed at a derm clinic, and then I shadowed in urgent care, and then I shadowed at a orthopedic clinic. And each of these experiences were really valuable for me because I was able to shadow just a PA with an NP, and then a PA with an MD. And seeing the roles and responsibilities of a PA change in each of those situations and the limitations of the career ultimately really helped me solidify why I wanted to be a PA. And it also taught me a lot about how flexible and expandable the PA profession is. We can be teachers, we can be in clinic, we can be an admin, and these are things that I saw in each of these shadowing experiences. So I thought that that was really cool. My biggest advice for shadowing would be to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to cold call, cold email. Everybody does it. It's so normal. And also don't be afraid to shadow in a specialty that you don't see yourself going into. At the end of the day, you're exposing yourself to a new specialty that you might fall in love with, or you're exposing yourself to a new patient demographic, and every experience is very valuable. So good luck.
Hello, everyone. My name is Harsh again, and I will be speaking about the new CASPA section of Life Experiences essay. And so this question provides an opportunity to describe impactful life experiences, especially challenges or adversity in areas such as family background, community setting, education, or other hardships or life experiences that may not be easily presented in other parts of the application. So what is this section really about, right? So you get 2,500 characters. This is an essay to really provide additional information that you want the PA schools that you're applying to know. Like, what else are you about? I think for this one, you really want to look and reflect back at your life, because it's life experiences, and you want to make yourself look like basically a hero, or like a superhero, right? A superhero kind of goes through a tough phase in their lives and then kind of comes back in a very successful way, sort of, maybe. And so I think what I would do in this section is kind of show a point in your life. And I think everyone has that at some point in their life, whether they're growing up. I think growing up, a childhood is a very tough time for a lot of different individuals. And so it's very important to include all those. Don't shy away from your background, your family, your culture, because the more you shy away, it's just going to be a very mediocre essay. For example, what I would include here is my weight loss experience. And I would basically include how I was obese. I got bullied for it. I had no friends because of it for some reason. And then I turned things around. I switched around and I lost 65 pounds. And how did I do it? That would be in this essay. How does that make me feel about myself? What did I learn about myself? How can that help me in the future with my patients, right? How can I view the PA profession from the lenses of my life experiences? And so that is what I would do in this section. And I hope you enjoy the other sections here.
My name is Leighton, and I am a current first year PA student at South University in Savannah, and I'm talking about personal statement portion of the CASPA application. So a couple of basics. The question that you have to answer is, why do you want to be a PA? You have to fit it into 5,000 characters, all those things. So in my experience writing it, I actually had to apply twice, and my personal statement was really the only big difference in my application the second time around. I completely rewrote it for my second application, and what I mean by that is I didn't necessarily change the context of what I was writing about, but I changed the perspective in what I was writing about. So for my opener, the first thing that I talked about was, a lot of people, you'll see this online too, a lot of advice that I had seen was like to start with some sort of attention grabber, and it doesn't have to be any like crazy epiphany about why you want to be a PA, or any crazy life-changing story or anything like that. It's just all about the perspective in which you're writing about. So, for example, what I personally wrote about is my background is in ER, and I wrote about two codes. I wrote about a code that I was in. They were different codes, but the first time I wrote about it, it was all about what I essentially was watching everybody else do, and then like a tiny role that I had, and it wasn't really answering why I wanted to be a PA, to be frank. And so the second time around, when I was rewriting my personal statement, I talked about, it was a different code, and so I had more experience and more things to write about, of course, but I talked about my role in the code, what I was doing, but also what everybody else was doing, and more so like the team-based care philosophy, and how, even though essentially it was unsuccessful, how that sort of dynamic moments like that reminded me of why I wanted to be a PA. So it wasn't really the context that changed, but it was about my perspective that I was writing from, if that makes sense. A fellow classmate has told me about his experience as well, how the first time he wrote, it was about just a different structure and why he thought he should go to PA school, essentially. And then the second time, he really focused in more on why I want to be a PA. And it's so difficult to talk about and write about, because it's so hard to talk about yourself. But, and I know it sounds redundant in saying it, but they really want you to answer, why do you want to be a PA? That should be the main focus of the essay. And there are so many ways you can answer that question, but they really want to know, why do you want to be a PA? Not why do you want to go to PA school, not why don't you want to be a doctor, not why this or why that. They want to know why you want to be a PA. And so if you need any additional tips on that, there are so many free resources out there. I actually was part of a Facebook group. I think it's called like the Pre-PA Club. It's run by Savannah Perry, like the big PA mentor name out there. There's a bunch of students in there, and I'm constantly seeing people. I'm still in it now as a PA student, but there's tons of people in there that post offering to read personal statements, give advice, show you their own personal statements so you have a reference. That group was really helpful for me. There's also a lot of examples online of personal statements that you can just get a guideline of, like, maybe the format. Those really helped me in formatting my personal statement, but it was really helpful to see other people's examples and ask your friends. There's medicine's obviously a very big field that people want to go into, and so everybody knows somebody somewhere. My friend that's in medical school helped me with mine. She read mine several times and offered editing suggestions. But yeah, her big piece of advice too was to stop writing about what all these other people were doing and to write about you and yourself and why you want to be a PA.
Hello everyone, my name is Harsh, and today I will be talking about the interview. And first of all, congratulations on getting an interview, because you probably did everything right on paper. Like you went through and submitted your required letter of recs. You took the required courses. You had a high GPA or a competitive GPA, etc., etc. So the first part of this is prep time. Prep time really depends on what type of question the school is going to ask you. So if it's like a very general basic interview, like just questions, for example, like, tell me about yourself, or why do you want to be a PA? The preparation for that might be less compared to schools that may ask you multiple mini interview style questions. So like they will give you a scenario and then you'll go into the room and you'll express your opinions and feelings about that scenario. And honestly, like the more you prepare, the better it is. But I would say about 4 to 5 hours of preparation time before an interview is very critical. I think you want to treat your interview as an exam and actually treat your interview as a game day. Like you have your pregame, you have your preparations, you have your mindset ready, because it truly feels like you are playing a game, because you'll be in front of 20 people and you will have to stand out to get selected from those 20 people. It's challenging, but if you have 4 to 5 hours of preparation time under your belt, you're going to be more confident. And I'm not saying preparation time has to be memorizing all the possible questions that they could ask. It's just preparing what points to hit. It's just reflecting on your journey as a pre-PA and in your life. And so I would say prep time, 4 to 5 hours, pretty good. And it's also progressive. The more interviews you take, the better you get at your interviewing skills. And so one of the things I really did to maximize my interview skills during my second year applying was to take the mock interview service provided by the PA platform. And I believe it's still $127, but I think that's the best investment you can make by far. Like I had so much feedback about myself, about my style of giving an interview, because I learned that I'm like all over the place when I give any interview. Like I don't stick to a point. I have no organization to what I say, and I think that was really true, and I needed to fix it. So what I did is I basically paid the mock interview service, and then they scheduled my date, and there was a PA who kind of interviewed me, asked me like maybe 7 or 8 questions, I believe, and it was an hour long, and it felt like an interview. But then I received a separate PDF in my email with the feedback from the PA and breaking down all the questions. Like there were a lot of questions that she thought that would be on, let's say, a particular program. So I think one of the universities, I don't remember, but she told me that, oh, this university asks questions like these, and so she chose questions based on the interviews that I had at that time, which in my mind, I'm like, how do you know all this stuff? So that's crazy. So they know what they're doing. And so I would highly suggest that. The second thing is the PA platform's interview book. And I think a lot of people do have it too. So, I mean, that's a great thing. So I think those two resources from the PA platform by far helped me out the most. And I did not prep at all for my first cycle of interviews, because I think that was purely ego and also ignorance. And I highly, highly recommend preparing yourself, because everyone will be better at interviewing skills if you don't prepare at all. And then the next thing I want to get into is like, how do you practice? Do you practice? So after you take the mock interview service, you want to practice out loud. Maybe record yourself. Maybe capture yourself answering the question, tell me about yourself. And then look at your organization, look at where you mess up, make notes on that. And then you want to do this for a lot of questions, maybe 5 main questions. And then there will be other questions where you can really not prepare for. The multiple mini interviews where you don't really have to prepare for it, because those are scenario based questions. But the interview book from the PA platform has those scenarios. So maybe take some of the scenarios from the interview book and maybe play that out in your mind or speak them out loud. And so, for example, one of these scenarios was, it was one of the interviews where I went into the room and there was the interviewer, but there was a separate person inside the room aside from the interviewer. And I had to draw an object that the person was describing, and I was being graded on how accurately I follow directions. A second example is, it was a multiple mini interview. I had to explain a scenario where I would explain a conflict in a simpler way to a patient or something like that. So like, you're basically expressing your feelings and your opinions in these types of interviews. So it's very contextual. Now, to take it up one more level, I also have been part of an interview where I had to build a heart from pieces of Lego with obviously a bunch of other PA applicants, because they were assessing us on teamwork and team building and leadership skills. And then we had to reflect on the team building activity. And so those are kind of very tough scenarios, all right? And so I have been a part of all different types of interviews as a function of really giving 8 interviews in my total pre-PA journey. And so those are kind of interview styles you may encounter. And so you have to be really prepared for that. And so I think the PA platform's interview book really gives you those scenarios. You can work on those in your prep time. Lastly, I want to address how to really stand out during your interview. So you walk in and you really want to walk out influencing the interviewer, influencing in a good way. But in order to do that, you really have to know what experiences that you want to highlight. If you don't speak about your personal experiences, you won't get an acceptance. And I really learned that so late in my pre-PA journey. I got into this school last year, end of last year. So it took me so long to understand what am I not doing that's not giving me an acceptance. And so I really thought about it. And so here are the 3 things that I did, and maybe you want to look into if you are not getting in. So after being discouraged, after giving 7 or 8 interviews, I'm I don't think this is going to happen. I don't think I'm going to get in. But that prep time and reflection time gave me these 3 things to really actually force me to include in the interview that I just gave that got me an acceptance. Language, culture, and life experiences. Language meaning how many languages do you speak? more languages you speak, it sets you apart immediately. Like there is no way, like that factor alone will not set you apart. I speak like 2 languages apart from English. It literally sets me apart from like maybe 80% of the people. All right. So I'm definitely in a different population of pre-PAs. If you filter everyone out who speak 2 or actually 3 languages, right? The second thing is culture. All right. Now, this one might be redundant because a lot of brown people pursue medicine, but you want to highlight what foods you like from your culture, because you never know when you will have that conversation during your interview. The third thing is life experiences. So let's see. I am an immigrant. I lost a lot of weight. So I was obese, right? I lost a lot of weight. I love lifting. I love exercising. I love cooking and eating healthy. This is all aligning to the profession I want to be in. PA profession is all about healing people. It's about making people healthy. I, on the other hand, had that personal journey. The fourth thing could be your personal hobbies. Like I was so not passionate about me being like a YouTuber, like a person who interviews people, like doing podcasts and stuff. So I would not mention that in my interview. But having life experiences is a combination of what you like to do and what you have done, your achievements. And so I think all those things you need to provide that in your interview, because that will set you apart so much from everyone else who is at the interview stage. And then, so all those things, I think those set me apart from a lot of people. And that is the reason why I am in PA school. And so thank you for watching this section. I really hope that you liked this whole guide. It was a really, really enjoyable process. I had a lot of conversations with different friends at school. Everyone was super excited to be a part of it. And everyone were super talented in delivering their experiences and stories. So I cannot thank them enough. And I hope you enjoyed this guide podcast. And I hope to catch you, hopefully, in another podcast in the future. Thanks for watching. Take care.